Hey, this is Lads of 20-Sided Night. Today we're going over the Dwarves of Starfinder. Yeah. Before we begin, I just wanted to remind you all to like, comment, and subscribe to be entered into our monthly giveaways. This month we're giving away two things actually. We're giving out a set of dice thanks to the Dice Hut. And so there's that. And we're also giving away an Alien Archive 2 to our favorite comments of the month. Last month's winner was Poster Ploy. Send us a message to 20sidednight@gmail.com so we can get the ball rolling, sending you out those minis.
Yeah, dude, you've been really knocking out of the park. We appreciate that.
Yeah, you're real rad. The Dwarves of Starfinder, they're a legacy race, and they sit on page 506 of the Starfinder core rulebook. Their racial stats are an ability adjustments of +2 to con, +2 to wisdom, and -2 to charisma, with 6 hit points starting out. They're medium-sized with the dwarf subtype, and they have a dark vision of 60 feet. They also have the slow but steady racial feature. Dwarves have a land speed of 20 feet, which is never modified by being encumbered or wearing heavy armor. They also have a +2 racial bonus against poisons, spells, and spell-like abilities. And when standing on the ground, they gain a +4 racial bonus to their KAC against bull rush and trip maneuvers. This could sort of be like how it always spoke to me how I guess earthly attuned they are, them being sort of similar. Well, it's them sort of like elementally touched, but it's never explicitly been said, you know?
Yeah, just because, and also maybe just when they're digging in the mines, there's like tremors or something, so they're just good at being steady and sturdy. Also, the +2 to poison really speaks to them.
Their rampant alcoholism. Yeah, and also it's weird how they get stone cutting as well, even in the future. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so what stone cutting does, it's an ability. It kind of speaks to how they're always all about rocks and stuff. And so with this, whenever they're 10 feet away from any sort of rock that's like out of place and being used for a trap of some sort, they automatically get a +2 perception bonus to find that, and they don't even have to be looking. It's kind of like a weird spider sense where it's like, AUCK Laddie, this rock be weird.
It's sort of like, remember how in the old Bugs Bunny cartoons where the animator would draw in that one rock that looked out of place?
So that's the one that's gonna blow up.
Yeah, I mean, Bugs can't see that, but if Bugs was a dwarf and not
a bunny.
Yeah, bunny, he'd be able to see it.
Yeah. Another thing that they do get for their racial bonuses, that does speak to how they're all about grudges and they'll keep them forever. But so when they are attacking something that's either in the goblinoid or orc type, it's an orc type creature, they do get a +1 bonus to hit. And then when they are fighting a giant sized creature, they get a +4 bonus to AC to speak to, sort of the little man complex they get when they're see like a giant sized creature. They're like, oh, so you think you're bigger than me, eh? And they just beat it up.
I love that they still kept that in. I don't know why, but I always like the idea of a dwarf always wanting to punch above its weight class.
Yeah, scrappy little fellas. And so the last thing they do get is they show that how they are always good with either a regular or a pickaxe. They do get proficiency with basic and advanced melee weapons, and at level 3 they get the weapon specialization for those. Regardless of whatever class you're in, they're just good at hitting things with blunt object.
Yeah, I mean, murdering something with a hammer, that's not something that comes from practice. Murdering somebody with a hammer comes from the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some of the similarities that they kept in and some of the differences that they left out between Pathfinder and Starfinder's dwarves is they're still long-lived like the dwarves of old, as well as they hold grudges like another. Obviously, they still have weirdly stone spidey sense, and while they're not the most cutting edge of all the creatures, the flavor text in here does sort of list that they are still technologically savvy. But while the gnomes were the more R&D department of things, these dwarves really take time to learn and hone their craft. The difference is they're not as greedy as they were in Pathfinder or D&D, and they don't live in vaulted kingdoms. Instead, I would imagine them living in a massive flotilla of different starships and
Or
whatnot.
Absalom Station.
Yeah, or Absalom Station, and so they don't live underground anymore. But you can also consider maybe if you do want to sort of still have the same agoraphobic dwarf who didn't like open places, make them more comfortable in a starship than they would be in, say, Absalom Station or the vast open rusted plains of Acton. They did also add magic to dwarves, which I also found was always kind of missing with dwarves.
Yeah, like it wasn't like if you saw a dwarf using magic or being a cleric, it wasn't weird, but it's just not part of the dwarf stereotype.
Yeah. And another thing they kept in, they're still mildly racist, like sort of.
They're traditional.
Yeah, listen, it's heritage, not hate. It's not hate, but they're still a little bit xenophobic. How in the book it mentions that they're more
Friendly.
They're more friendly, thank you, to humans, halflings, and gnomes. And they didn't explicitly say that they like elves. They just sort of kept elves in the other.
They're okay with the other races of Galarion. Elves
still suck at elves, but they're still maybe not open to relations too much with, say, Shireen's or Lashanta with all their new gangly arms
and their new fangled things. Well, they do get along with the Cathasis because they're all like, "Ooh, we love traditions," and dwarves like, "Hey, old man, we love our traditions too." Man.
So tell me about dwarves from your perspective here.
Yeah. So basically, what dwarves are doing now is, and I'm just going to go over a little bit of the gap because it is important. So in the Starfinder lore, 300 years ago, basically everyone got amnesia. A lot of historical data, whether it was either written down or on computers, a lot of it was lost. The planet Galarion, which is where humans and the rest of the legacy races, including dwarves, hobbits, elves, all those guys, that planet just sort of went boop, it disappeared along with a bunch of other stuff, and no one knows how that happened. Since dwarves do live to be about 400, and this did happen 300 years ago, there are still some old dwarves who remember, the old country, if you will, and so they are trying to find artifacts that would pertain to where Galarion is, because their main dwarven god Torag, he basically said, "Hey guys, so I'm gonna guard Galarion. Where is it going? You don't need to know that, but I'm leaving you with old Uncle Angrad. He's gonna take real good care of you until this all blows over," and then just sort of disappeared.
I do like how they're still obsessed with stonework. I know I keep going back to that, even to the point where there a lot of times will still be miners in the story because some anthem in their heart they just still beats.
That's
for
just
stone.
what they do. But,
it's what they do.
And one thing they do have with Torag is there's a cultural tradition called the Quest for Sky, which some dwarves think it was completed. Some dwarves think that it still needs to happen. The broad strokes are that the Torag said, "Hey, we can't just stay underground. We got to move out of the basements, eventually. So get out there and go to the sky." And some dwarves think that, "Hey, man, we got out of the ground. Now we live in space. That's good enough." But a lot of dwarves are like, "Hey, man, we got to find our own planet. They don't dig holes there."
All of your dwarves sound like Boomhauer.
Well, because one of the things they do talk about how is, dwarves, they're really traditionalists, and because of that, they are seen as backwards, and they're really good with technology, but they won't embrace new things. So it's kind of the difference between, back in the day when the original Scottish settlers came over, because whenever you hear someone playing a fantasy dwarf, what does everyone do? Scottish accent. And now it's the future, kind of like in our world, how originally they were Scottish, now they're rednecks. So it's going to go from, "AUCK Laddie, we got to go hit him with the axe," to, "Hey, old man, we got to hit him with the dang old axe, man."
If you don't want to go this quest for the sky route, a couple things you can also do was, since they are really dealing with ancestral pride, it can be sort of a thing how, again, the Quarians of Mass Effect, it was expected they go on a pilgrimage and bring something back to the Quarian flotilla. This could be sort of the same way their litany of ships that grace the skies, they would have to come back and bring back, I don't know, either some artifact or some knowledge of something forgotten, and that could be definitely a good quest for them, or to fulfill a family grudge for the group. Sort of like, I don't know, if
Great Aunt Mary Lou, she was dating an elf, and then he was like, hey, listen, dwarves are gross, ew, gross, bleh. And she broke her poor heart and she died of heartache. So now you gotta find that knife here and you gotta kick his teeth in.
Or maybe even the flip side of that, where say their ancestor did have a friend that was sort of an adventurer or a scholar in the past, right? Whether it be a human or what have you. They died, but since dwarves are longer lived, that dwarf still knew the kid, or the ancestor or the predecessor down the line, and so now they joined the group because they knew
their grandpa.
Yeah, their grandpa, what have you. That would, if you want to add a less edgy way of a dwarf being into the group, but still not being a young dwarf. There you go. That would be a pretty good example. About dwarves, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Like, why would you play a dwarf?
Well, one thing I like about dwarves is there's a couple ways you can play. You can play it as sort of the gruff, old dwarf who, like you were saying, it's like, AUCK Laddie, I knew your great grandpa, and we were fast friends, and now and he saved my life once, so honor dictates that I gotta go with you on your adventures. Or just something where it's like, hey, I'm a young dwarf, I've got to make my name out there, I've got to bring glory to my clan, I've got to kick in a knife here because of something that happened a few centuries ago, something I got to do. If you're on good terms with them, they're a pal for life, but if not, you're gonna get stomped.
Yeah, a couple. I like those. One thing adding on to what you said about if you're gonna play an older dwarf is, say you did know somebody's predecessor or ancestor, and you were playing an older dwarf, that could also sort of be one easier way to introduce a dwarf into a party, even why a party would get started adventuring. Listen, lad, I can't do a dwarven accent. Listen, laddie, if you
dwarf accent.
Listen, kids at home and adults at home, even if it's not a good Scottish accent, it's a fantasy game, it's still a good fantasy accent. That being said,
listen, laddie. Your grandfather and his father before him was fantastic at wielding an axe. That being said, I want you to be a grand man or woman. I can't see below your shirt, lass, but a grand person to deal great boons to your family.
And so that being said, maybe the dwarf in the group is the one to spur out the party to adventure. If you do want to play it like that, where they're giving them they're giving them the kick in the pants to get out of their parents' house and go out and make a name for themselves because they don't want to see their friends' kid wallow.
Yeah.
Was that about cover it for dwarves with you?
Yeah, it covers it for dwarves for me.
Okay, I liked him playing a legacy race as well. Again, thanks for watching 20 Sided Night. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, post deploy, send us an email, and bye for now.
Hey you rascals, thank you for watching our video. Click here to subscribe, click here to watch one of our newer videos, and click here if you feel like watching something random. Have a good day.